my favourites. For those of you who haven't seen it or don't know the story, it goes something like this. Dorothy, an innocent schoolgirl living on a normal farm in Kansas with her dog Toto and her Auntie Em and uncle, is transported to a strange world called the Land of Oz. In the Land of Oz, it's not like back in Kansas. There's munchkins and yellow brick roads. So what is normal? Well, if we think about it in the family context, it could be you've got a mum who stays at home and with the kids, and the father goes to work. Or it's the other way around, or both parents are at work and the children are in childcare. My version of normal is I flick on a light switch and the lights turn on. I turn on a tap and water comes out. And scarily enough, I have my mobile phone with me 24/7 and I have a camera. And that's something that has become normal to me recently. So I'd like you to all consider what you think is normal for you. And even consider that this is your individual perception of normal. And what we consider to be normal actually could limit what's possible for us. So let's define normal. Google defines normal as conforming to a standard, typical, usual or expected, the usual, average or typical state or condition. So my idea is about what normal really is, or relatively normal, is what I would like to share with you today. And my story of how what I thought something was once normal has totally changed what I thought was possible. So let's look at some other things that have become normal in our life. I went out on the weekend and took some photos of a toy store. So this is what's become normal in a toy store. In case you don't know, I'm a civil engineer. And when most people think of civil engineers, they don't think of girls with long blonde hair and pretty purple dresses and high heels. Most of the time, they think about buildings and cranes and construction sites. And if you go a step further and look at what my interests are, I chose subjects at school like ancient history, art, and physics. And they're not the typical normal engineering subject types. So how does a blonde-haired daughter of a journalist and an arts graduate get into engineering? It was because of my physics teacher, Mr. Addison. He suggested engineering to me when I was at school, and it's something that I've never considered. And if I never considered it, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today, and I wouldn't have a job that I absolutely love. Now, it's no surprise that engineering wasn't normal for me. In Australia, there are only 11% of female engineers, and half of these are under 30 years of age. Usually when we talk about engineering, engineers talk about the what we do, not why we did it. We talk about how long the bridge is, how high it is, what's it made of. We don't normally talk about things like the community impact, what the bridge actually functions as. It connects two communities and people who wouldn't normally have relationships can form new relationships. And what do girls think about engineering? Last year, I organised an event for Year 9 and 10 high school students, and we asked them what are their perceptions about engineering. I was actually really shocked. The most common perception that they had was that it was a manly job. Lots of girls said that they thought it was fixing engines, and it was more about buildings and cars, and none of the creativity or diversity that's in engineering. So now I'd like to tell you about my first job. I was the only female in a structural engineering team. The team was really technical, and I thought to be a really good engineer you've got to be really detailed and really technical, and I made a decision that I'm not going to fit into this team and I'm going to have to be someone different. I better not be too girly, not wear really girly outfits to work, I'll be really quiet and less creative in my job, because I thought that's what normal engineers did. It was my first job, and I thought, okay, it's your first job, maybe I just got to suck it up and work really hard. Thankfully, I was made redundant from this job, and which was actually a huge bonus, because I probably would have stuck it out for a bit longer and worked really hard, And two life-changing things happened after I was made redundant. The first thing was that I realised that engineering, it's actually really great to be different. In my case, it was great to be creative rather than technical. And the second thing was that sharing this idea would be really powerful. I realised that engineers are actually can be really creative, really diverse, and engineering is really innovative. As engineers, we have a huge impact on the world around us. Recently, I read an article about a mechanical engineer who designed an exoskeleton for a little girl. This girl was 3 years old, and she had something wrong with her muscles, and she wasn't able to even hug her mum. This engineer came up with an exoskeleton so this girl could hug her mum for the first time. And not only was it possible for her, it would be possible for hundreds and thousands of other people. Engineers make a huge contribution, and if we all thought the same, and if we were all the same kind of people, we wouldn't be able to come up with really creative and interesting solutions to the world's problems. I thought when I had this idea that, I'm not going to go around the office with the super technical people and share this idea of we can change the world and how fantastic, we're so creative. And so I kept the idea to myself for quite a while. And then I met Jillian. Sheepishly, I shared the idea that I'd had this event for high school students and it was to get more girls into engineering. But after the event, I actually realised what I really wanted was to share the idea that engineering can change the world and that engineering is creative and innovative. Thankfully, Jillian didn't think I was a total weirdo and really actually loved the idea. And she'd been thinking the same thing all along and hadn't shared it with anyone. So this started a conversation. And this conversation has gone to over 900 high school students. And Jillian and I have spoken to hundreds of people in the engineering industry about changing the perception of what engineering really is. So we did all that stuff. What did the girls think about it? What did they say after they attended the events? We asked the girls, what are your perceptions of engineering? They actually said it can change the world, it's really creative and diverse. They said 91% of the students said they would consider a career in engineering, and 57% changed their mind from no, I've never considered a career in engineering, to yes, I will. So, the point of the talk is this. I had my idea of what I thought normal was. And now that it's changed, so much more is actually possible. And before I finish, I would like to thank 2 people and leave you with one last thing. The 2 people I would like to thank are my parents. And I want to thank my parents. Oh gosh, I thought I wouldn't tear up. Someone asked me if I would, but I think I might. Thank you so much for having my idea of normal be I can choose any subject I want, be whoever I want to be, and that education is really important and respect for people. Thank you. And the last thing I want to leave you with is one of the last scenes of The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy is desperate to get out of this crazy place and back to her normal farm with her family. So she asks the Good Witch Glinda, help me, how do I do this? And the Good Witch says to her, you had the power inside you all along. All you have to do is tap your ruby slippers and utter the magic words, there's no place like home. And Dorothy found that she could change the whole world around her with what she already had inside her. So I invite all of you to go put on your ruby slippers and go have munchkins and yellow brick roads for your normal. Thank you.